I'm Brian Van from SportBikeTrackGear.com, and I'm here today with my friend Joe Kraft, once again from Kraft.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. We have the suspension components on the bike. You guys have probably already seen the videos where we were over at Joe's place. He put in the 30 mil kit, right? From there, I've reinstalled the forks. I've got the shock on the bike, got the steering damper. Now it's time to put a baseline in the bike.
Correct. We're going to do just a basic sag setup. Measure the front fully extended, measure it again when Brian's on it, and try and get some good numbers to get him going on the track this weekend, right?
This weekend is going to be the first inaugural voyage.
There we go.
And by getting a good baseline in it today too, what that's going to allow me to do is once I get down there and I start riding the bike, I'll have a new set of tires on it too, which is really the way to start off when you're tuning suspension. You don't want to tune your suspension to old tires.
True, true. No point in adjusting the bike for old tires, because who wants to race on old tires? So
Exactly.
get some new rubber on there and get it set up the way we need it.
We will have concern for tire wear moving forward. Like if I see, number one, if I go out there and if it's handling poorly anywhere on the track, I'm going to pick up my phone, I'm going to call Joe, we'll talk about it, he'll give me a direction to work in. If the bike, say it feels great, but then as the day wears on, I'm noticing some really erratic tire wear that I wouldn't normally expect. I mean, let's be honest, the tires are the most expensive part of the whole deal.
Yes, they are, but I also kind of think of them as an expendable. It's a product you're going to use up on the track, and you can't always tune suspension to achieve perfect tire wear. I mean, they are something consumable, so you got to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, not perfect, but you don't want to be out there just destroying the tire. Especially if you're riding smooth and everything's going well. So that's something else that we'll take into consideration. What's our first step?
First step is we need to pick up the front of the bike and measure the extended fork length. So you have a base dimension to work with. So we need
one person on each side of the
one
clip-ons?
person on each side to grab them, and then whoever's taking the measurements needs to find a place on the bike that is repeatable so you can maintain the same accuracy in the measurements you take.
That's very important, because if
Absolutely.
you don't really think that part through, everything's
It's pointless, yes.
exactly.
So I like to go from the top of the bottom triple clamp to any good point down here, either the top of the fork bottom or the axle nut or something like that, just someplace that I can go to again to get an accurate measurement. Okay, so I'm measuring from the top of the lower fork triple to the top of the axle nut, and I've got 510 millimeters. Okay, that's good. Okay, so we've got Brian on the bike, Aubrey's holding the back, we've got our leathers in place. We take that same measurement we started with before from the top of the lower triple down to the axle nut, and we now have 475 millimeters. So doing some quick math, we take the initial 510 measurement minus the 475, and that gets us 35 millimeters of rider sag in the front. Our goal being 35 millimeters.
So that baseline that you put in the forks was pretty
good.
good.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. Then we need to go around back, pick the back of the bike up again, do the same measurement, fully extended, and then again with Brian on it. So. Okay, we're going to move around to the rear, and we're going to find a location, again, that's repeatable. Nice Graves exhaust pipe there, a good point to come vertically straight down to the axle. I'm going to measure off the swing arm here. So
Okay. And then Josh and I are going to grab it right by the foot pegs. We've got the Woodcraft rear sets.
Just gently off the ground a little bit. Okay, that's good. 530, thank you. All right, so again now with Brian on the bike, measuring from the same location, straight down to the axle, I get 490.
And what's our
530 less our 490 is 40 millimeters of rear sag, which is a little much. Normally in a race trim we like to have like 25 or 30, so we'll probably put a little extra preload on that Ohlins shock and see if we can take care of that. So. All right, we've made our final adjustment on the Ohlins shock, and we now have 505 millimeters, and we started at 530, so we hit our target of 25 millimeters of rider sag. Rear sag mainly for racing applications. On the street, you could go a little softer than that, and you don't really need to achieve the 25 millimeters. So.
Okay, so we ran you through the sag process. You know, we just talked about the clickers, and this bike has new suspension front and rear. Joe did the forks, the shock came from Ohlins. And everything that you get from Ohlins, everything you do, you begin with a baseline recommended from Ohlins.
Correct. They come preset, or at least with a recommended setting in both compression and rebound, spring preload, shock length, fork position, and it's a good baseline to start with. I wouldn't really change anything till the rider gets out on the track and does a few laps, and then has an issue that we can talk about and see which way we can go to make an adjustment on it. So, out of the box, it's good.
Even doing the sag, I mean, you know, we were talking about this too. At the higher levels of racing, they're not paying attention to that anymore.
No, that's pretty much an everyday person kind of thing as a starting point. Certainly it's a good place to start because you don't want to sit down on it, stop someplace, or top down on springs. But if you see the professional race teams, setting sag isn't even an issue. I think the goal is more to start off in like a third of the total suspension travel and work from there. So.
But like he said, I think for the everyday rider, which I definitely fall into that classification, I know I'm a hobbyist. I really enjoy going out there. I can ride quick. I'm not the fastest guy out there. I'm not the slowest. I ride quick. And I like my bike to be set up really well. I'll admit I'm not totally anal about that, and Joe knows that. You get me pretty close, I'll go out and ride the bike quick and be happy with it. But I like to have my baselines in there because it gets me a good spot to work from. All we're changing when you change the preload is you're changing the moment at when the spring begins to move.
Correct. That and a little geometry has effect on raising the back or the front a little bit, which can affect your performance out on the track as well. But again, it's one of those things you need to go out and ride, put in a few laps, get a feel for the bike, and then start thinking about what is it that's holding me back from going faster. It's tough when you go out there thinking about, oh, I should come in and change the spring preload, I should change the compression damping. As a rider, you need to just go out there and think about doing your job as a rider, looking through corners, all the basic kind of riding things, and figure out why you can't go faster. And then talk to your pit crew on resolving those issues. So.
For the rear, the preload in the rear, the main thing that we're going to be focusing on is what is the motorcycle doing under acceleration, right?
Pretty much, yeah. The rear has a lot of effect, getting on the gas from apex to exit. Eddie and I work on that all the time. And the front seems to have a lot of effect on getting into the corner, getting the bike to turn in initially after you're done with your braking, or if you're trail braking into the corner, getting the bike set to where you're comfortable to just throw it into the corner, get your knee down, and start rolling the gas on it. So.
And that's, these sag numbers we put in it, they kind of put us in just a really nice beginning point. And if I want to make adjustments, say if I feel like the bike's not squatting enough, coming out of the corner, right? It's not moving early enough. We can loosen that preload up a little bit and get the motorcycle to squat to try and get a little more traction out of it. Like he said, after the apex from corner to corner. And the preload in the front too, turning. Everybody does that a little bit different now. There's more than one school of thought.
Oh yeah. I think as you get more advanced, you want to go into the corner with a little trail braking, which helps keeps the front end down, helps initiate a turn. Excuse me, and work on that principle. I personally have a hard time doing that, where I like to get all my braking done before I get into the corner. And of course, you notice then that the front end starts coming back up while you're entering the corner, which is not real confidence inspiring. You want the front end to be kind of down and stable as you're throwing it into the corner. So.
Like with the DeSalvo school, and this was interesting. I've done a little bit of stuff with Brian Stokes, and I've had some conversations with Jason. And we did this in a video before we talked about this. He told me that your two primary controls are this and the throttle. If you're not using one or both at the same time, you're not controlling your motorcycle. And at that high level, those guys are. They're literally, it's one, the other, or both.
Right. Obviously, they're the pros. They're the ones who know the best. I think there should be an overlap between trail braking into a corner and rolling the gas on. The trail braking helps keep the front end down, keeping the bike cutting into the corner. And it's just something you got to learn to do eventually. So
you got to be careful with it too, because what you can't do is you can't abruptly let off of that brake and unsettle the suspension when you're leaned over in the middle of that corner.
Oh yeah, obviously one of the primary rules is being smooth. So being smooth equals going fast, and any input you give the motorcycle, whether it's tight on the bars or on and off the gas or abrupt braking or releasing the braking, just unsettles the whole platform, and it's hard to get fast lap times doing that kind of stuff. So.
For sure. Thank you for your help again today, sir. I'm looking forward to riding it. Hopefully your phone's not ringing on Saturday. I'm not needing any help. I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Good.
I'm pumped to ride it. I'm Brian Van, this is Joe Kraft. Baseline settings, preload and sag on our 2013 STG project bike.